All right, hey friends, welcome back. My name is Jason, and today we are discussing bugging out, the why, the when, the how, and I'm here with my friend Ben O'Toole. Ben, please introduce yourself real quick.
I'm Ben O'Toole. I own TRC Outdoors. I spent 15 years as an infantry officer in the British Army and then latterly as a contractor in all the horrible places overseas, and also worked within crisis management and disaster response for a good few years.
So today we are discussing bugging out, and I think probably the first thing that we should discuss is the why. So Ben, why on earth would anyone want to bug out, and what the heck does that mean in the first place?
Well, I think it's an interesting one because a lot of the times you see when you look at kind of prepper culture, you're on the various online fora, you've got people sitting there and they're saying, "Oh, I've got me my generator and I've put my additives in my fuel to stabilize it, and I've canned up all my vegetables and I've got them hidden under my bed, and then I'm going to go and run away and live in the woods." And it's like a lot of people are treating bugging out as the plan of first resort
Right.
rather than a plan of maybe not necessarily last resort, but something that you must do. It's
Yeah.
it's something you're compelled to do
Yeah, but bugging out
by
is a lot of
circumstance.
people's plan A. Plan A, bug out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think it's somewhere it needs to sit in a scale of planning. I mean, I think about my home here, got veggies in the garden. I've got a fireplace I can burn wood in. I've got heavy oil for heating. I can capture rainwater and that kind of thing. So I've got all of those bases covered. Why would I leave that and go to something that's a lot more uncertain, unsure?
Right.
And I think as well that when people do the bugging out thing, they don't actually have that much of a plan other than they're going. It can't happen to me. Kind of cognitive dissonance that happens in in a disaster kind of event. The wildfires in California,
Right.
where there was people sat there watching the fires coming towards their house on TV
Yeah.
and then running away with
With nothing.
nothing.
Right. When
Um,
they could have had all the time in the world to pack up the things and get out of there safely. They anticipated that they thought it wasn't going to happen to me. It's that fire somewhere else. What are the chances of it coming here? 2 weeks ago, we had a tornado warning. Tornado warning, tornado watch. I always get them confused. Whichever one means there is a tornado. There is I think it's a tornado warning. So there was a tornado. I got that alert on my phone, and I thought to myself as I was laying there in bed in the middle of the night, 2 a.m. or something like that, now would be a really smart time for me to get up and pack all my kids up, get them downstairs to the basement and get to a safe location. But then the next thought that came into my head was, meh, it's not going to hit here. Like, it's not going to happen. Like, why do I need to get everybody out of bed? Like, that came through my head, and I'm a preparedness guy. So I did the right thing. I got up and was, stayed up, stayed alert, got everybody ready to go kind of thing. But I can see how that happens to people. They think the drama, the riots are just down the road from me. They're not going to come this way. Yeah, there's no need for me to pack
Stuff
up.
on TV is a long way away.
Right. Even though it's right out, if you look out the window, it could be there. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, that's interesting. Interesting psyche that happens in people's minds during emergencies.
Yeah, it is. It is. And you see it time and time and time again, you watch the news and you see that, heavy fighting in this, dusty place somewhere in the world, but there's still people there
Yeah.
and there's still, you know,
Yeah.
it's crazy. It's like during the Falklands War. Um, so the Falklands are a set of islands off the coast of South America that is British territory. The fact that we've held on to it so long has nothing to do with oil deposits underneath it, nothing at all.
Of course. No.
Uh, yeah, but in the early 80s, the Argentinians decided they wanted it, so they invaded, and we had a good old war about it. So when the Argentinians were busy invading, and the British troops there were busy resisting said invasion, there was a nasty little firefight that was going on in the main town there, Port Stanley, and this firefight kind of petered out as in complete disbelief. Both groups of soldiers that were quite happily trying to kill each other watched some dude with a white flag who was trying to get to work. He was like, "No, this can't possibly be going on. I've got to go to work this
I've got
morning.
work today."
I've got work today." He was like the local street sweeper or something. But yeah,
Yeah,
there is this crazy cognitive dissonance that
yeah, that
it's
guy's
not going to happen to
yeah,
me.
that guy's all he's committed to his job. That's the kind of employee you want right there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Complete moon hoover, but yeah, what a guy.
Yeah, I don't call in sick for
So,
nothing. I'm going to work.
yeah, firefight, nothing. Invasion, but yeah,
We're launching the biggest giveaway we've ever had on this channel. We're giving one of you this fully customized Chevrolet Silverado Trail Boss Z71 thanks to Vanish. I love this thing. The Vanish holster is the most comfortable holster I've ever worn. It's made with premium materials that enhance all-day carry for the everyday American. This is an incredibly versatile holster that works with 99% of modern handguns, allows you to carry 2 extra magazines, and can be worn in just about any configuration you can imagine. To enter, all you have to do is click the link in the description and get yourself the most comfortable holster you've ever worn with a money-back guarantee. And Vanish will hook you up. They're knocking $50 off the retail price for anyone who buys using our special link below. Get an exclusive discount and extra entries this week only when you use our link below. Don't wait, because this giveaway ends in a few weeks.
So getting back on subject. So the why the bug out. In my personal opinion, like you were saying, bugging out is hardly even on my radar. It's like plan Z. It is like the last absolute plan that I have. Like that my house has burnt down, the entire town is on fire. Then okay, I'm gonna check out and I'm gonna leave for a little bit. All right, but aside from that, I'm not going very far. I've got friends, I've got family close by. The furthest I'm going to bug out, is a couple miles for the most part. And that's kind of the extent of my bugging out, because I think a lot of people they get wrapped up in this fantasy, this romantic notion of being out on foot with your backpack on, loaded with all your gear and all the freeze-dried food that you can carry, and your ammo and your AR-15 strapped to you. But I don't know about you, but I have a family.
Huge big backpack with cast iron skillets hanging off it, like Frodo heading for Mordor.
clanging around. Yes. But I have a family, and I'm not leaving my family to bug out. I will have a wife and 3 kids in tow, and they will have to carry all the things that they need, and all just the logistics in that scenario alone right there is pretty hefty. I've done some longer distance trekking with the family. I've done 15 miles in one day with all of the family. And that's a friggin' long ways. And everybody was spent and hungry and tired and thirsty and blisters and all the stuff that you have to deal with. And I think it's not reality for someone that's, if you're by yourself, sure, it's a little bit more realistic that you can go somewhere and figure things out because it's just you have to worry about. But if you have other people that you are responsible for, it becomes significantly more challenging.
I think so. And I think a very important consideration in any kind of planning for this is competency. There's a lot of people that will have got these huge, big packs, there's that YouTuber we might have mentioned.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And, they think they're going to put this enormous, huge pack on, and they're going to walk miles and miles and miles and miles and miles. Yeah, I can do that. That'll be fine. But when the miles add up, pounds equals pain. And I think that there's that whole thing of competency. Can you actually walk that distance with that big pack? Do you have the physical fitness for it?
Yeah.
Are you able to navigate?
Yeah.
You're
going to get lost out there.
Can you get yourself from A to B safely?
Inch bag, right? The I'm never coming home bag is what a lot of people like to call it. And it's loaded up with 1,000 pounds of rice and beans and 100 million rounds of ammo, and they're heading out and they're never coming back. Sorry.
I actually think an inch bag should never be part of your arsenal.
Yeah.
Because I think you really always need to be going somewhere. That then tailors things to be a lot more sensible, and you can start applying logistical planning to it.
A lot of people have this plan that they're just going to get They're going to get out of the immediate danger zone whenever that happens, and then they're going to figure it out along the way. And that's not a plan. You have, if that's your plan, then you're just going to be some random refugee out there hoping for the best, and you're going to be heavily reliant upon people around you. I mean, there's been historical story after story after story of people that went on long expeditions. Like, let's take the Lewis and Clark expedition, for example. They traveled across the continental United States, basically. They would have died 100%. They would have not made it if they were not heavily reliant upon the Native American populations that were spread already there, that already were living in the continental United States, right? We think of it as this vast frontier and the emptiness, which, I mean, it was a lot more wild than it is now, but there were people living there. And without the horses and the food and all the help that they received from those people, they would have been the refugees that were hopeless, lost, and starved.
Really, it comes down to 4 aspects, and we call it the 4 Ds. So we're going to play a game, and that game's called So What. So we'll do the 4 Ds, and we'll play So What.
Okay.
So the first of these Ds is destination. Where are you going? So what could be something we would need to think about where we're going? So let's think about, what about water? Is there water there?
Right.
If there is water there, so what? Needs to be purified. So what? Needs to be stored. Can I do that? Yeah.
Right.
Is it a particularly arid place, like, you know, the deserts in Arizona? Is it a particularly wet place, like the Pacific Northwest? Well, if it is, that triggers the equipment, clothing that we're going to need to have along the way. You know, am I going to need fuel for fires and things, or some form of accelerant to get a fire going because we're in the Pacific Northwest and it's incredibly wet? Or am I in the desert and there's nothing to burn? Your distance is your next one. So with your distance, you know, how far is it? So if we're thinking about a vehicle, how much fuel do I need? How long will it take me to get there? Same for if we're on foot. You know, how many days will it take me to get there? What am I going to need in terms of supplies to get there? Can I carry everything on my back? Probably not.
Right.
So if I'm going to a predetermined destination, could I work out that I can carry over, you know, 3 days, I can cover this distance. And then after 3 days, have I got a cache I've buried somewhere that I can pick up along the way? So the distance tells you lots of things. Duration. How long are you going for? Just a few days? Because, I don't know, there's been a local chemical spill or a wildfire's gone through the area, or tornado, and then I can come back? Or am I going to be away for much longer? So what does that mean for me? So maybe I could live 4, 5, 7 days in a tent in the woods. But if that turned into weeks, months, am I looking at a more permanent shelter that needs to be there, like a cabin or a lean-to or something like that? And then there's the demand. And that's, you know, how many people are there? What is the demand? So, you know, you need about a gallon of fresh water a day for cooking, drinking, and washing for an adult. So, you know, that's however many gallons of water for however many gallons of people are there.
Yeah.
What about your calorie intake per day?
What about sanitation? Where are they going to use the loo, as you would like to say?
Absolutely. Are you going to be digging cat holes left, right, and centre, or do you need to get a good deep pit dug?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, most people don't even think of these types of things.
No, absolutely. So all of these 4 questions, these 4 elements, your distance, duration, destination, demand, you can do some really, really good sort of back of an envelope logistics planning, and even a lot more detailed logistics planning doing that. And then once you've actually got a plan, then you have all the fun and excitement and adventure of testing it. Give it a go.
Right.
You're going to make, every plan requires assumptions. But as the great General Bernard Montgomery said, no plan survives first contact with the enemy. So, be prepared for that plan to be adapted and to change, but test it.
I agree 100%. I think if you have this plan, you need to test it, because everyone, not me included, overestimates our abilities to travel long distances and carry this much weight. I have overestimated myself plenty of times and been unpleasantly surprised at my performance.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I mean, when I first started going back to hiking in the mountains, I thought I was still in my head, I was still in my early 20s. And I had a shock.
Yeah, a rude awakening.
I had a very, very rude shock.
Oh,
the universe put me firmly back in my place.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's good. So we talked about some of the potential problems that you would encounter, but let's talk a little bit more about that. So what are some real issues that you would encounter that you would maybe anticipate encountering if you were on foot? And then maybe some issues that if you were in a vehicle and needed to bug out to, let's say, the next state over, or in your case, the next country over, or something like that. What how could we do that, and what kind of problems do you think that we would encounter?
So you're going to want to have in your mind multiple routes. It just takes a bridge to be washed out for routes to change. And that's, if you're on foot, if you are in a vehicle. I think if you're in a vehicle, you're not going to be the only person that has that idea, potentially. Right. And when you're looking at route selection, you want to make it you want to be thinking about whether you are on a permissive or a non-permissive route.
Mm-hmm.
So you might be on foot just because you've got no other option. Let's say it's been an EMP, it's fried all the microchips in your car, so your only possibility is to walk out.
Right.
So thinking about that environment, is it permissive or is it non-permissive? Now, another great maxim from the great Vernon Montgomery is that time spent in reconnaissance is seldom wasted. Test your plan, test your routes.
Yeah.
As well. So you can take a drive, and if you start driving along and you're taking the route that you've selected on the map, probably Google's told you it was the best way to go as you were doing your planning. And then you think, yeah, this area kind of looks sketchy. This has got my spider senses going.
Right. And if it feels like that in good times, it will be way worse in bad times.
Yep. So we need to replan our route.
Yeah.
Look for choke points. I'll give you an example. So when one of the jobs I did, we had there was a coup in Mali a few years back, and the organisation I was working with, we went in to pull out a number of Western miners that were stuck in the country. And when we got the initial planning through from our headquarters element, we had 3 different routes into the city, but all 3 routes that they gave us went over the same one bridge. And that bridge was a choke point. So that bridge could be blocked because of too many vehicles, or vehicles ran out of fuel. It could be blocked because some form of, nasty people have decided it's a good place. They're like trolls under the bridge wanting to take a toll.
Yeah, taking a toll.
It could be that a flood's gone through and destroyed the bridge.
Yeah.
So that's a choke point. Those kind of things there. Lots of routes coming together. If you're in an urban environment, it might be, a very multiple junction intersection that heads to a freeway, that's before an entrance to a freeway, something like that. That could be a choke point. So you want to watch out for places like that and think, well, how can I route around it?
Right.
So if you're in a non-permissive environment, then you're going to be thinking about, well, actually that route is going to be an awful lot less hospitable to travel through in the first place, because if it's hard work for you, it's going to be hard work for someone else.
Yeah.
That route that gives you cover from view is going to be the route that potentially is the harder route to take. So again, what's your so what from that? It's most likely going to take you longer to get there. It's going to be harder to navigate.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to want to have multiple options. You're not going to want to have all of your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
Paper mapping, absolutely vital.
Because most people are heavily reliant upon their phones or GPS to navigate. Can you figure out how to get from A to B without that device? Can you use an actual map? Have you memorized the route? Can you do it without a map at all? Is that a thing? That would be ideal, I guess. But having an actual map, compass kind of backup, I think is going to be key.
Yeah. So I'll give you a little story. So this was after I well, no, I was still in the military, but I was I was permanent staff at a reserve unit, and it's in London, and it was on 7/7. And 7/7 for us was when we had a number of suicide bombings in London on the public transport system. And so we ended up with a mass casualty situation because of it, big security situation, everything shut down. So all the public transport shut down, the whole mobile phone network was not available to ordinary people. It switched over to being only used for emergency response.
Wow.
And so I was at the office, and those days we didn't wear uniform in the office. We wore suits. So there I was, very nice 3-piece suit, nice pair of leather brogues, and I was 20 miles from home.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I'd only ever travelled there on public transport. So tube trains, metro trains, underground trains, subway. That's the word I'm looking for.
The subway,
for your
that's right.
context. Subway. So I thought, well, I'm going to have to get home. So I'm going to walk. I'm in the army. I can do this.
Of course you can.
Of course I can. Be fine. I didn't know where I was going. Like I'd
Of
gone
course you could do
from
it. You
my
just don't know where to
home.
go.
Yeah, I'd gone from my home to the subway, got
Yeah.
on the subway, and then
Then what?
gone from the subway station to the office.
Yeah.
Right, what am I going to do now? So, Google Maps wasn't a thing then.
Yeah.
So I was very lucky in that like a convenience store, like a 7-Eleven was open. And I was able to buy, we have these maps in the UK called A to Z. And it's or A to Z. And it's just a little map book, and they're available for all the major cities. So I bought a London A to Z map
Mm-hmm.
for them to work out how I'm going to get home.
Right.
So I got that. That's great. But as I've been walking for a while, I also had to say to the guy in the shop, "Where am I?"
Where's the star on the map that says you are
Yeah,
here?
show me where I am. So I had to find out where I was. So that's great. So I did that. So we're going along. I'm really thirsty. I'm really hungry by this point. All the shops are shut. Everyone's gone home. This kind of thing. So the only thing I could see was in a playground in a school. I could see a vending machine. Right? No change.
Of course. Yeah.
I had no change on me whatsoever. So I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, well, that's magic. So I'm walking along, and I'm in these wonderful, very, very, very expensive, very, very great looking pair of shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they tore my feet to pieces.
That's
So
great.
then I carry on going for a bit more. And then I got into this, I ended up traveling through housing project. I think you call them projects over there, like
Yeah.
social housing. They're generally quite depressed areas.
Not
So I'm
good.
traveling
Yeah.
through that in a 3-piece suit.
Yeah.
So quite clearly what happened next was I got mugged.
Oh no.
Yeah. So then I got mugged.
Yeah.
And that, Jason, that taught me that whole trip. So eventually I got home about 10 o'clock at night.
So you did make
Very,
it.
very footsore, missing a mobile phone and a wallet. And And it was a very, very humbling experience
Yeah.
because, I've been switched on to hell as a soldier,
Yeah.
Done all this good stuff in Iraq and Afghanistan. And yet when it came to getting home,
Yeah.
because I had no plan,
Yeah.
I hadn't tested it. My 4Ds were shot.
You had no D's. No.
I had no Ds. I was D3.
That's right.
I was lacking competency.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, we haven't talked about equipment yet. We can talk about equipment.
Yeah.
I can have a good rant about equipment.
Yeah.
But I didn't have the right equipment for it either. So that was
Right.
that was a huge message for me. So
Yeah, that like you said, that was probably extremely humbling. Probably felt terrible about life.
yeah, absolutely. But
But you
it
learned a
was a
lot.
never again experience.
Yeah,
And apart from the mugging, it was a relatively benign experience, to be fair.
yeah. Man, that's rough.
But again, it shows the importance of route selection, testing your route,
Yeah.
having competency, and being properly equipped.
Sure. I've been criticized before because of, I've put myself in hypothetical situations where I've been mugged and I've lost everything, or I've been hijacked and they stole my vehicle, right? And I've had criticisms. People say like, "Oh, that would never happen to me because I'm armed and I've trained and I know what I'm doing." Like, I just think that is the biggest bunch of like bull ever, because that could happen if you're caught off guard, regardless of how switched on you are, or you're outnumbered or whatever. Anybody can be taken advantage of. Anybody can be, mugged or hijacked, right?
Yeah. You familiar with Cooper's color codes?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so American, I believe, Special Forces operator, and he, strangely enough, surname of Cooper, and he talks about levels of awareness. And most people are floating around whatever color it is that's the bottom level, where you've got no idea what's going on around you,
Right.
And then you might have something happen that has an increased level of what's going on around you, all the way up to this real super duper hyper vigilance right at the top here.
Yeah.
The kind of level of vigilance that's right at the top here, it's absolutely impossible to maintain for any kind of long period of time, because it takes so much of your consciousness and your effort, and it's so debilitating. And then you add into that all the other things, like you're dehydrated, you've got low blood sugar, you had an argument with your wife before you've left the house, or there's that big report from work that's due,
Or the
that kind of thing.
big blister on the back of your heel from your fancy shoes.
Yeah, absolutely, that's it. Yeah, you've just been mugged by a group of teenagers, or something like that. And so the idea that you can be completely vigilant all the time, it's why, like, on military patrols, the guy that's walking point gets swapped out all the time.
Yeah.
Because it's just gonna burn out and not be able to focus. It can and will happen to anyone.
Yeah. So those are the problems that you can encounter being on foot. There's an endless amount of problems. I mean, those are just the top of the mind ones that we were thinking of. But yeah, let's say you're in a vehicle. I mean, you would know more than probably anybody all the problems that can happen in a vehicle traveling through an unsafe area. Everything from a flat tire to engines overheating to whatever. I mean, there could be all sorts of problems. Do you have a spare tire? Do you have more than one spare tire? Do you know how to change a spare tire?
Absolutely. I mean, and the more modern your vehicle is, the bigger the problem you've got.
Because, or the more difficult it is to fix. Yes.
Well, this is it exactly. I mean, it's just a collection of plastic boxes that you have to plug a computer into to tell you which plastic box you need to replace.
Right. Exactly. That's a really good way to put it. Yes.
Is your vehicle suitable for the journey that you're going to do?
Yes.
Do you understand what the range of your vehicle is? And you might sit there and you open up the manual and you say, oh, okay, so the range of my vehicle is this. So I know that on a full tank, I can get this far. And then you put a family of 4 in it. and then you put a load of stuff in a roof box and you fill up the trunk, and all of a sudden that engine's working considerably harder and you're not getting to where you need to get to
Right.
because you don't have enough fuel. So, you're back to your distance part of your planning
Sure.
in that instance. Has there been damage to the roads? There's there's stuff you can get through in a pickup truck that you can't get through in a little runaround car kind of thing.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely. Yeah,
you
big
can
enough.
get places on a dirt bike that you can't get in a pickup truck.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I thought about all these kind of things, that my vehicle is a big heavy duty truck and I could push vehicles out of the way with the big steel bumper and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't make it immune. That doesn't make it completely immune to all the problems that could happen, right? It could still get flat
Mm-hmm.
tires, and changing a big tire like that on the side of the road, or not even on the side of the road. Let's say you're off-road, changing a tire in an off-road situation is not that easy, especially if you're by yourself. If you've got help, it makes it a little bit easier. But
And driving off road is always a gamble anyway,
right,
regardless of the vehicle you're in. Potholes, rocks,
anything.
you
Yeah.
know, all of those kind of things.
Yeah. Yeah, and motorcycles. A lot of people say, I've got a motorcycle, I'm gonna bug out. Yeah. Yes, a motorcycle is awesome. I'm a big motorcycle guy. I ride a lot, and they can go just about anywhere, but you're also
Mhm.
extremely exposed and very vulnerable to not only people, but the elements, right?
And they're noisy. I mean,
And they're
you are,
noisy.
if you're on a dirt bike, you're telling everyone in a very wide area around you that you're
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Here comes a dirt bike. Everybody get ready. Throw rocks at him.
Yeah, absolutely. And the same with vehicles. Vehicles are very, very noisy.
Yeah. Agreed.
That noise signature can travel a very, very long way.
Yeah.
Same with it's like smoking. People who smoke, that's something that travels a very, very long way. And if you spent any time in the woods, you realize quite how heightened your senses become
You're right. Yeah.
as well. And smells like that, soap, things like that, really travel a very, very long way.
Yeah. I did a survival challenge one time where I spent almost a month living off the land, right? And I had to, if I didn't catch it, I didn't eat it.
Mm.
And I was hyper aware of anyone. And there was a film crew, a camera crew around me. So I was very aware of if they had just eaten. So I could I could smell everything. Like I'd get a little downwind of somebody, I'd be like, what was that? Did you have chicken and rice? What is that? You holding that on me?
Yeah. The other thing that people lack in their planning is redundancy. So, this is the thing you hear people saying is it's the one is none. No, two is one and one is none.
Right.
But the people lack redundancy. I always remember the thing I always think about is it's like, yeah, people then carry two of everything, right? I'll have two bloody great shovels and two sledgehammers in case I need it. But really, it's about your most critical items. I always remember the first series of Alone. There was one guy, and he put his jacket down, and he was lighting a fire, and then he put his ferro rod down on his jacket. He forgot he put it there, and then he grabbed his jacket, and then he realised that he'd flung his fire steel right off into the Ulu.
Yeah.
And at that point, he went, "I'm leaving."
Yeah.
And he walked away. And so it's like, you've got to have those critical equipment redundancies. Like,
absolutely,
you carry a compass, carry a spare compass.
Yeah.
But then be sensible about what you're carrying. So a lot of people, for example, with a compass, they go, yeah, I've got my main compass, and then I've got my backup compass. They bring out this tiny little button compass, and it's like, when things are at their most difficult, why are you making life hard for yourself?
Uh-huh.
I've got a lot of my stuff rigged that it's all on dummy cords.
Me too. Yeah.
And I've got it rigged so that I can remove the dummy cord and it can go around my neck. So I've got it to hand, it's like fire steel, compass. I look like some kind of post-apocalyptic Mr. T.
Yeah.
With with all the stuff that's there. But
it's
all, but it's all about things that are at hand. I think about that fire steel. I finished with it in my hand. Let's get it away around my neck so I know it's gone, but I know it's where it's safe.
Right.
That kind of thing. So redundancy is as much as having different courses of action. You need redundancy in equipment.
Right. And now with that said, I'm just as guilty as probably anybody else, maybe more so than a lot of people of not carrying redundancies. Like I'm a pretty minimalist kind of guy for the most part, especially if I'm on foot. Now, if you're in a vehicle, that's a little bit different story. If I'm in my truck, for example, I've got everything I need to live in that thing for a long time, live outside of that thing for a long time. But if I'm on foot, I really truly believe that, less is often more. The less you have to lug around on your back, the easier your movement is going to be, the less injuries that you're going to sustain, the less discomfort that you're gonna feel along your path if you're having to move for a long distance. And I feel like less is more to a certain degree. Yeah, there are some critical key pieces of kit that I don't want to be without, and that's why. And because I don't want to carry a bunch of crap, that's why I practice my skills pretty heavily, and I do the dummy cording, and I make sure I hang on to those really key pieces of equipment, and I learn the primitive skills as well, so I can do without a lot of that stuff if I have to. If that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another important facet of redundancy is that things can do more than one task.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know, anything that
Multi-purpose.
does one job is that worth my while?
Right. Yes.
And then the other one is commonality in equipment. So, for example, my GPS and my head torch take the same batteries.
Yes. I love that. Yep.
Yeah. So everything I everything I carry that requires a battery, it's a AAA.
Yeah. Yeah, I do the same thing as much as possible. Some things you can't do that with, but for the most part, as much as I can, AAA batteries is what I go to.
It's just having that commonality across equipment as well. So if you've got more than one stove, for example,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
do they take the same fuel?
Here's one thing that I think you mentioned a little bit earlier, and that's caches. So you could set up. How do you say it? Cache? I think you say cache. What do
Yeah,
you
you
say?
guys say cache,
Cache.
cache. Yeah,
No matter
cache. Yeah,
no matter how you say it, you're saying it wrong. Someone's going to correct us. So
absolutely.
I call it a cache. But anyway,
Yeah. Well, it's from a French word, so it deserves to be
butchered.
treated with contempt.
That's right. Anyway, my cachet, I have
Mhm.
those set aside. If I'm planning on going somewhere,
Mhm.
it's not that difficult to strategically place necessary items along your route. There's
Mhm.
lots of ways to do this. Everything, like I've got one buddy that has a gym membership. It's a really big name gym membership. I forget what it is. It's like Anytime Fitness or something like that, and they're all over the country. And in these gyms that are kind of in his surrounding area, he can have a locker with a
Mhm.
lock on it, and he can have gear in there that he can go and access if it's on a route that he typically travels. So I thought that was
Mhm.
a pretty crafty idea.
It's pretty genius, actually. That's
Yeah.
very good. I mean, because one part of the problem you've got is that if you're trying to establish caches along a route, and we're talking about we don't know what the distance of that route is, there's going to be multiple of them.
Mhm.
What do you do if you lose one?
Yeah.
If one becomes compromised or you've had to reroute,
Right.
where's the redundancy?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
And that's
do you
just like,
actually need to have a couple in an area?
yeah, and that's opening up this huge can of worms that requires an advanced level of preparedness that I think most people are not necessarily not capable of, but probably unwilling to do because they think, yeah, but it's probably never going to happen, right? So again, I think that's why this bugging out scenario is so far down on my list of things to prepare for. I've already bugged out. I live where I live strategically for a reason because I have the
Mhm.
resources, the things that I need here, and it's a fairly safe area. I should have a fairly good heads up before chaos starts coming this way. And I've
Mhm.
got a community of people that I have worked on building up, so I can count on those people. And, maybe my bug out is, across town to a buddy's house or something, but it's not like I've got to bug out across the country.
No, absolutely, and that's. I think there's differing bits and pieces that you need. So, having spoken about my humbling experience, I will always have a get home bag.
Mm-hmm.
I will never leave the house without a pair of shoes I can walk home in.
Right.
So my post office is 2 miles down the road. I'll quite happily in the summer drive there in flip flops, but I'll have a pair of sneakers in the back of the car.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
That kind of thing.
You learn the hard way.
Yeah, absolutely. There's that limited duration thing, like it's a flood or a wildfire, and you've got that bag that's got, your house insurance, your house deeds, your insurance documents, your ID documents, your bank details, maybe the family album. It's got that kind of thing in it, that grab bag.
Yeah.
You might have that sat in the hallway. I mean, when I was young, actually, my father was going to be working overseas, and we went to Seoul in Korea, South Korea. It was late 80s, and pretty much the only place you really would live as an expat was in this big American compound. And it was mandated that every member of the household had to have a packed suitcase in the hall in case the North decided to invade.
Wow.
And the idea was you'd grab your suitcase and you'd go up to the high school, and helicopters would land on the football pitch and take you away, and you'd get flown away to Hawaii and then back to the United States and dealt with afterwards that.
Yeah.
So you're bugging out and you're having to disappear is it's very dependent on the circumstance and are you really having this huge backpack with the world in it, this inch bag? I'm never coming home. I'm going to live out of this forever. Well, actually, you're not. You've read Jeremiah Johnson, right?
Right.
Yeah. So incredibly capable, competent mountain man. Lived in the mountains for years and years and years. Still came to town every once in a while to pick up certain things because it was impossible to survive without them.
Even the most prepared, most experienced soldiers, outdoorsmen, mountain men, they all could do it for a while by themselves, living off the land kind of thing. But it always comes back to relying on other people. You're always going to need something from someone in order to continue this life that you want to live.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, do you want to thrive or survive? And they're two very different things.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I've done both. And I can tell you which one I'd rather do.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, thanks so much for watching. I really, really do appreciate it. Please hit the thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. Leave us a comment. Any comment will do. Ask questions. I read almost all of the comments, but I really try to make a point to respond to any real questions. So if you have a question, I'll jump in there. And Ben, you probably make yourself available to ask some to answer.
Oh, absolutely,
questions. Yeah. So please ask questions. Happy to jump in there and respond to those. Share the video, please. The shares help a lot. I'd be really, really grateful for that. And then Ben, thanks so much for joining us. How can people find you?
At TRC Outdoors on Instagram or www.trcoutdoors.com. And if you are a UK watcher and you are around the 25th, 26th of the month, I'm going to be at the Bushcraft Show. So come up and say hi. We've got the new survival and preparedness area is going to be at the Bushcraft Show. I'm not exhibiting, but I will be around and about. So come and say hi.
Fantastic. Okay, very cool. All right, guys. Thanks again. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you on the next one.
We're launching the biggest giveaway we've ever had on this channel. We're giving one of you this fully customized Chevrolet Silverado Trail Boss Z71 thanks to Payne Safari. America's not as safe as it once was and is getting crazier by the day with open borders and ridiculous policies that let criminals walk away scot-free after committing crimes, which is why always having a way to defend yourself is a good idea. Guns may be the best solution for taking out bad guys, but not everybody can or wants to carry a gun. That's where this incredible flashlight comes into play. It's called the Shockwave Torch by Payne Safari, and this innocent looking and super bright light is anything but harmless. It's so powerful, it has this built-in safety and only charges when plugged into the wall. But press this button and it will discharge a brutal stun gun that will turn a 350-pound man into a crying baby. Equip you and your loved ones with a Shockwave Torch. These are a must-have for anyone, from moms, dads, daughters, you name it. It's the simplest thing that you could ever own to help boost your chances so some dirty thug doesn't turn you into a victim. Get an exclusive discount and extra entries this week only when you use our link below. Don't wait, because this giveaway ends in a few weeks.